You probably know of cool multi-GPU technologies like NVIDIA SLI or AMD Crossfire, probably with multiple RTX 2080s in a single system pushing huge frame rates at 4K resolution. Well, today's multi-GPU setup is quite the opposite of that. On the channel, you've already seen the HD 6570 discrete GPU and HD 8570D as part of the A8 6600K APU, but today we'll be combining them together and measuring their performance. Spoiler, it runs terribly. The technology that makes this all possible is AMD's dual graphics technology, specifically for the FM1 or FM2 sockets. It allows you to combine a fairly weak discrete GPU and a fairly weak integrated GPU together to make something that pushes out decent frame rates in games. It runs based off of AMD's Crossfire X technology, which I'm assuming does not inspire confidence. You see, Crossfire technology does not allow for perfect scaling even under a best case scenario, and worst case scenarios can mean no support at all or even negative scaling. Normally it only works between basically two of the same GPUs, so you can imagine when we take two different GPUs from a large variety of hardware and combine them all together, the result is probably unoptimized and slow. And that's exactly what happened when we tested today. Setting up dual graphics is not easy. It requires going into the BIOS first and activating dual graphics under the graphics configuration settings. It also decides not to post if you assign a weird amount of VRAM to the iGPU, so I left it on auto, which allowed the maximum 2 gigs to the integrated graphics. Do note that of course that your mileage may vary and your experience could be a lot better. After booting into Windows, you can now turn on dual graphics within the AMD driver software, and so both GPUs should run in games. However, booting into the games presents even more issues. Random blue screens, system freezes, force closes, etc. plague the experience. Unoverclocking both GPUs did not immediately fix the issue, nor did reinstalling drivers. I later stumbled upon a specific driver that worked, and today's benchmarks are taken from that. So here's what you've all been waiting for, the benchmarks. Let's start with our only playable game today, BioShock Infinite. It ran at 38 FPS average with a little stutter. Not a bad experience, especially considering that the HD 6570 by itself only managed 21 FPS at 720p low. All of today's benchmarks are at 720p low, and also the on-screen footage you see is not representative of real-world gameplay. Next up, GTA 4 ran at 27 FPS at 720p low with minimal stutter, another improvement from the discrete GPU. We're starting to see a trend here. GTA 5 ran at 24 FPS average with huge stutter and lag spike. It's also glitchy and there's a lot of missing textures. Overall, a really bad experience. Dirt 4 exhibited negative scaling, just 18 FPS compared to either the discrete or the integrated GPU by itself. You can tell it's best to avoid using the discrete GPU altogether and just use the overclocked integrated GPU. Further confirming this is Rise of the Tomb Raider's in-game benchmark. It ran at an abysmal 7 FPS with lots of issues, such as how the background behind Lara Croft is just flashing white. I have also removed the footage for people with epilepsy, and also because it's decided to stop recording. The Witcher 3 ran without such glitches, however it did not run particularly well though, at just 8 FPS average, resembling a PowerPoint slideshow. As you can tell, each game besides BioShock Infinite was essentially unplayable. Every game scaled negatively compared to the integrated GPU, which could be overclocked. What AMD promised was for the two GPUs to come together and produce great frame rates, but this really didn't happen. It's best to simply overclock your current GPU, whether it be integrated or discrete. You won't be throwing away frames either way. I understand that others have gotten dual graphics to work properly and with surprisingly decent scaling. However, the amount of hoops there is to jump through and the extremely niche use case do not make dual graphics a practical solution. Having both an APU and a supported GPU is not only rare, it's not cost effective either. It's best to just spend your money on a better discrete GPU. This is a shame because in theory, a technology like this could combine a Ryzen 3 2200G and a Vega 56 into a Vega 64. Well, at least we can now see why AMD no longer supports this technology on their newest Ryzen APUs. Maybe later though we'll test out AMD Crossfire, like the normal kind, with graphics cards, and compare the results to this. Thanks for watching.